In this video, I'll be going over how to invest $1,000 in 2018, and all the stocks mentioned in this video will also be purchasable on the Robinhood app. But before I get into the $1,000 portfolio or how to invest $1,000, if you don't yet have a brokerage account, I use and I really like the Robinhood app. It's downloadable on iOS or Google or Android or whatever you have. It's an absolutely free brokerage. It has no commissions or anything like that. So if you want to download this app, I have videos going over it, plenty of videos. Definitely check out those videos as well. But click the link in the description and download the app, and you will get a free stock when signing up. But other than that, getting right into the video, I've actually made this video in the past, but I wanted to change it up a little bit. A lot of people like this video, and a lot of people kind of like when I don't know, I guess suggest stocks or say what stocks I would invest in. And on this list, I believe I invested in almost every single one of these stocks. You could check out my portfolio if you don't believe me. So just so you know, I'm not just picking these stocks at random. I actually like these stocks. I think they're going to do extremely well. And this portfolio is a little bit different because it's a little bit more tech heavy. And it also has more growth stocks rather than, I guess, my portfolio in the past with more value stocks and stuff like that. But anyways, getting right into it, the total portfolio value of all these stocks added up is about, I think it was $1,007 or something like that. But I have a total of 9 stocks. Well, actually 8 stocks and 1 ETF. And this portfolio is a little bit diverse, I guess you could say, but as I said before, it's a little bit more tech heavy and a little bit more based on growth stocks. It's not totally diverse, but I think it could be a great beginner portfolio. And if you're new to the Robinhood app, these are definitely stocks that I actually invest in, and I did invest in when I was a beginner on the Robinhood app as well. But starting off at the first stock is Facebook, ticker symbol FB. Facebook is right around $180. It's actually the third largest stock in this list. And Facebook does not have a dividend yield yet, but it is a really great growth company, up huge over the past couple of years or so. Facebook, pretty well-known stock, really dominant in social media. One thing I also like about Facebook compared to other social media stocks is that unlike Twitter, Snapchat, there's a few other ones out there, Facebook has monetization down very, very well. They're very good at monetization, similar to Google in that aspect and YouTube, but Facebook kills it with monetization. They're definitely not going to start losing money any soon. They continue to grow every single year, and I think they're a great pick for a beginner investor. The next stock I'll be talking about is Activision, ticker symbol ATVI, and Activision, another technology stock. You probably heard of their games before. They're a video games company. Warcraft is their biggest one by far, World of Warcraft. They have a bunch of other games you probably heard of. You can look them up if you want. I've played their games in the past, pretty good games, but Activision makes a whole lot of money every single year. A lot of it off Warcraft, which I honestly don't think will ever go out of style or people will stop playing that. But they also come out with other games every single year. If you look up their list of games, I'm sure you've heard of almost all of them if you're into gaming at all. But Activision, one of the best video game stocks out there. It's had great growth over the past 5 years, and I honestly think the video game industry is highly undervalued in the stock market world. Not enough people are investing in video game stocks. I wish I had more invested in it as well. Video game stocks have been big, and they are continuing to grow, and a company like Activision is starting to change its things. They do adapt to changing markets and changing preferences and stuff like that. So I think Activision would be a great pick, and it comes in at $66, so it fits nicely in this portfolio as well. The next stock I'll be talking about is Square, ticker symbol SQ, and Square is right around $37. Square has had great growth over the past couple of years or so, and you probably heard of Square, but maybe not if you're not into like technology and stuff like that. It's created by Jack Dorsey, the CEO and founder of Twitter, and Jack Dorsey is a really smart guy. He has a lot good going on with Square right now. If you look at the company and everything that's going on with that, Square has had great growth. Like I said, it's a relatively new stock. It's only been public for a couple of years or so. And Square basically does online processing, online payments, credit card payments. I think it actually has like a website sort of service. Like it sets up your own website for you. So Square, overall solid technology stock. I believe its PE is actually, they don't actually have a PE ratio. It would be technically in the negative right now, but they are getting closer and closer to profitability and a pretty solid growth stock for a beginner investor. The next stock I'll be talking about is Netflix, ticker symbol NFLX. And Netflix, one of the larger stocks on this list, like Facebook, comes in at $189. And Netflix is really cranking out a lot of good things. It's really hard to pinpoint any bad things about Netflix. It's really a solid, great growth stock. It's great in its sector. It's absolutely dominating. Obviously, it's wiped out companies like Blockbuster. There really aren't any companies in its way right now. Some possible competitors in the future could be Disney and Amazon, but that's way down the road. And honestly, by the time they come out with anything that can compete with Netflix, Netflix will be so far ahead, I don't think it would actually matter. So I do still think this is a long play, even though a company like Disney relatively soon is going to be pulling its movies and stuff like that. Netflix actually makes a whole lot of money, and the one thing that amazes me about Netflix is that consistently every single quarter they have like amazing subscriber growth, and that's where they get a majority of their profits are from people continuing to subscribe to their services, to their video streaming or movie streaming services, whatever you want to call it. So Netflix, pretty solid stock overall. It actually has a very high PE ratio, so a lot of people are expecting them to do even better in the future, as myself. The next stock I'll be talking about is Pepsi, ticker symbol PEP, and Pepsi is right around $118 right now. And just a note, all these prices I'm saying in this video are probably going to change by the time you watch this video, because I'm making it today's December 18th, and these are just the prices from that day, so they probably even changed today from when I wrote them down to when I'm recording this video. But anyways, Pepsi, very well-known company. Really, them and Coke absolutely dominate the beverage industry. There really aren't any other competitors in their specific industry. Like I said, Pepsi is right around $118, and I actually do prefer Pepsi as a stock over Coke, not the actual drink. But Pepsi has a pretty solid dividend yield. It's one of the only stocks on this list. Not one of the only stocks, but one of the stocks on this list that have a very solid dividend yield, and I believe they will continue to increase it. And Pepsi's almost in between a growth and value stock, but I would like to say it's more of a value stock. But because it has been growing quite a bit over the past year and 5 years, up over 300% over the past 5 years, I guess it would probably fit into that growth category as well. So that's one reason why I like Pepsi. But moving on to the next stock is GM, ticker symbol GM, General Motors. They're right around $42 right now, and GM actually has a very, very high dividend. I believe it's the highest on this list. It's right around 4 or 5% at the time I'm making this video. If I can look at it real quickly, it is actually at, its dividend yield is actually at, here we go, right around 4.5% right now. So I really like GM a lot for a lot of reasons. They're really dominant in their industry. There's other competitors like Ford, and there's a couple other companies out there, but GM is doing very, very well. And one thing I also like about them for the future is that they're moving towards more energy efficient cars. They're putting a lot of money and effort into green energy and automatic driving cars, stuff like that. So they are also looking to the future, and a lot of these companies I think are lagging behind, like a company like Tesla, and now GM is starting to move up there with cars that are becoming better, faster, everything about it more energy efficient. So that's one thing I like about GM compared to other car companies, and it really has a great dividend yield, and it's a pretty solid value stock. Moving on to the next stock is Boeing, ticker symbol BA, and Boeing is right around $296, so it's by far the most expensive stock in this list, but I still think it fits in nicely, and it does cover a wide variety of, it does basically cover its entire sector, and it, in my opinion, is by far the best stock in its sector for a handful of reasons, especially during the political climate we are in right now with the presidency in office. But Boeing is an aerospace defense company, and pretty much everything you see about Boeing, if you follow their company at all, like I do, all they do, honestly, almost every single week or every other week or whatever, is they all they're doing is really making deals with other companies. Like Boeing sells another plane to someone, Boeing sells a plane to India. Like, it's insane how much work they actually do. They're up quite a bit since I bought them. I mean, I'm already up 50% on the stock. It's up 100% and over 300% over the past 5 years. So another great growth, but also a pretty good value stock, pretty reliable. I guess you could call it a blue chip stock. I would call it a blue chip stock. I'm not sure if other people would, but very large company. It's got a solid PE ratio, a solid dividend yield. Everything about this company is really solid, and Boeing is a great pick for a beginner investor, but you have to have a little bit of money because the stock's almost at $300. And the next stock I'll be talking about is Pfizer, ticker symbol PFE. And Pfizer, one of my favorite healthcare stocks that are relatively cheap. And by cheap, I mean it's only around $37. Pfizer has a really good dividend yield at right around 3.3%. And Pfizer is really just a blue chip, solid healthcare stock that's relatively cheap. That's one thing I like about this. You got a couple shares if you don't like one of these other stocks in the list or something like that, because it had with that consistent dividend, it will always obviously give you those returns plus a little bit as the years go on. It is more of definitely a dividend stock rather than a growth stock though. And moving on to the next stock is actually is an ETF, and that will close out the portfolio. And if you don't want to invest in ETFs, you can end the video right here. But the next stock I'll be talking about is an ETF. Its ticker symbol is SPHD, and I believe it actually stands for, if I can look it up, it's in my portfolio actually. The actual name of the stock or the ETF is PowerShares S&P 500 High Dividend Portfolio, and I believe they actually changed their name. It used to be PowerShares S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF, and this ETF tracks a dividend yielded weighted index comprising of the 50 least volatile names chosen from a short list of S&P 500's 75 highest dividend yielding securities. So as the name says, it's a stock that covers stocks, or it's an ETF that covers stocks with high dividends, but they also have low volatility. And honestly, if you ever look at the list, you can look it up, you can just Google it if you want. I would honestly invest in almost every single stock on their list, but this ETF covers them all and has a relatively low expense ratio, so that's another thing I like about it. And it gives out monthly dividends, so this is really one of the golden ETFs. I like this ETF probably the most out of any ETFs I've ever invested in. It has a low expense ratio, it has really good dividend yield, and has a monthly dividend, and it covers a good array of stocks that I like. So it's a really solid ETF. If you really wanted to add more of those shares, I wouldn't blame you, because of the monthly dividends and like everything about it's pretty solid. So that's definitely a great ETF to add to your portfolio if you're a beginner or even if you're an experienced investor. But anyways, that's it for today. That's the $1,000 portfolio, or how to invest $1,000 in 2018. So if you're new to the Robinhood app, definitely check out some of these stocks. I wouldn't recommend just copying what I said totally, because that's just not what a smart investor would do. But anyways, I'm going to run through the stocks real quick while we're closing out here. The first stock was Facebook, Activision, Square, Netflix, Pepsi, General Motors, Boeing, Pfizer, and SPHT, which is an ETF. But anyways, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely leave a like. And if you haven't checked out my channel before, I talk about investing, I talk about the stock market, really anything that has to do with money. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, definitely head over onto my channel, Investing Potentials, and consider subscribing. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video.